As you guys know, I came back to Twitter like maybe a month ago now, you know? And the first week, maybe even 2 weeks, were way too peaceful. I was like, this isn't how I remember Twitter, you know? And then eventually, it started hitting. I was like, okay, there you go. You suckers in my mentions, this is how I remember Twitter, to be all fucking chaotic and crazy. So I want to talk about my first encounter of this backlash. I don't know, maybe it's because I surpassed my 1,000 followers, my first, or I guess second 1,000 followers, since, you know, it's my second account. But I think it's because I dare tweeted 2 names into the Twitterverse and didn't dare say something negative. I said Gabbie Hanna. And I swear, this woman must have people that are like anti-orbiters, you know, like they like just find it and they just attack. It was kind of astounding. I don't even know if I said her name in some of these tweets, but I want to start from the top, because this is essentially what led another YouTuber to come at me in a really harsh, intense way. Like, some might say she was off of her leash. Thank you so much. Yes, I am talking about the YouTuber Hello Leesh. But before we get into the back and forth with Homegirl, I got good news for us. We got a sponsor. Adam and Eve said they would hook you guys up with a discount, and I said, I love discounts, especially on adult toys. Because let's face it, guys, buying an adult toy on its own is kind of like ooh, am I really gonna do this, right? But when it's a discount, it's like, all right, why now? It's discounted, right? And not to mention, they have discreet packaging. So you could order it, have 5 roommates, and they would never know. Just don't open in front of them, of course. Or do it, whatever, fun, friendly times. So you might be saying, what's this discount, homeboy? Well, it's 50% off one of your items and free shipping if you're in the US and Canada. Just enter in homeboy, you get 50% off. That's a good discount. All I'm saying is you gotta treat yourself, because you know what? All this time indoors, we gotta release our juices. What the hell? This is a funny ad. Hey, guys, shout out to Adam and Eve for sponsoring this video. Sponsored. Alright, now let's go back into seeing what exactly got Hello Leesh so mad at me that she wanted to end me. Go! So what are my sins here? First of all, I never really followed the Gabbie Hanna stuff. I never seen really any of her content. She wasn't for me, you know. Literally this year is when I really started to kind of look into it. And the reason why I got into it is because, you know, she called out one of my friends, Reddit Glare, and the whole like tea community and everything. It was kind of interesting because it was kind of a diluted situation. But in the end, it started becoming crystal clear that some people really just wanted to be nasty to her because of her reputation. Because in that situation, you can't say that she was wrong, you know. But this girl has more controversies than... Who's a very controversial person? I don't know. Well, actually on YouTube there's quite a few people with a lot of controversies, but she's got a lot of controversies, and I guess she's doing this like redemption arc on YouTube for herself, this little series. So I started looking into it. I gotta say, as much as people hate her, I don't feel like all the hate is completely warranted. I feel like it's a little excessive. The 2 things that stuck out to me that I really think are kind of like uncalled for, first of all, is calling for her to be deplatformed. This is one of the things that the YouTuber Jessie Smiles said, that she wanted Gabbie Hanna deplatformed. And I'm really looking into this. I'm trying to be as objective as possible because I just don't understand it, you know? I see that Gabbie has some problematic tendencies, as you might want to say, right? But like, to take away her platform entirely, it doesn't add up to me. And then another thing is calling her a rape apologist, right? Like, that's her label. Those are the 2 things that really interest me about this entire situation. So I started tweeting about it, and people don't like that I have these opinions, which I don't know. I don't want to... I don't know how to say, but I feel like those aren't like hot takes. Now, if you disagree with me, if you do believe strongly that she should be deplatformed, you know, I'm really open to hearing, because I want to come to this with a really open mind and just hear everything. Because, like I said, I just started looking into it like a month ago or so, and yeah, I'm open to hearing everything. This is what I was tweeting so far, right? Let me put it on the screen. I quote tweeted this video from this person, and they clipped 2 little clips from Jessie Smiles, and this is what she says.
One of the things that I believe you never do, even if you hate someone now, is hang out with their rapist and his friends.
Every interaction Alex has had with Curtis, he has apologized to me for, but at a certain time, I just accepted that they were friends.
So, like, you know, it's all I said was, dog, what? And then replies some people in the mentions started coming in like, I didn't even mention Gabbie Hanna in that, but people that hate Gabbie Hanna sure were crawling in there. And all I'm saying is, dog, what? Like, I'm sorry, but this should be confusing to any person, right? Because you're acting as if like talking to somebody that talks to someone that assaulted you is the worst thing in the world, which yes, objectively it is bad, right? Now, it doesn't really make sense when your current best friend not only like talked to him after the case, but he lied to the internet about it, and then he moved in with him, and then he also collabed with him after the dude had the plea deal, which he was a character witness to the plea deal. Like, he helped him escape like any sort of jail time. You know, he was in there saying, oh yeah, no, I don't know him to do anything. Nope. Even though he was friends with Jesse all along. So these are the questions that go to my mind. It's like, this is the kind of stuff that intrigues me on like the heavy inconsistency. What else have I tweeted? Oh, I also tweeted this. I'm starting to think that nobody actually knows the details of the Jesse and Gabbie Hanna beef because people just regurgitate popular talking points, right? Because Angelica Oles here literally says
she was associating with him, and if you guys think that that is a lie, or if Gabbie Hanna has told you a different story, I will link Jessie Smell's thread where she has a phone call with Gabbie Hanna about this.
I need everyone to pay attention because this part is fucking magical. The link that Angelica provides goes to the exact thread where Jessie Smiles agrees that Gabbie was not friends with Curtis.
So Angelica Oles says Gabbie Hanna was friends with Curtis, and if you guys don't believe me, you guys can hear it yourselves through the phone call, and I'll link it down below. And in the phone call, this is what we hear.
It sounds like I'm friends with him.
No, I'm not.
Gabbie's like, you're making it sound like I was friends with him, and Jesse says, no, I'm not. Like, there's this like misconception that Gabbie and Curtis were friends, which is just regurgitated online, and even Jesse disagrees with that. But you know, the internet likes to think that because two people have ever interacted on social media or they have a picture together, that means they're friends. And you know, I get it. It happens with me as well with people on YouTube. But like, honestly, like people on the internet, God, it's hard. It's hard. You know, I'm pretty fine with the CreepshowArt. You know, I thought she was a friend, but you really can't know people. And like, I don't know. Anyway, I'm getting carried away. But so those are the two things that I tweeted, right? Those are the two things that I tweeted. And then somebody told me about this tweet from this girl who's the girl that made the first viral tweet about Gabbie Hanna. And she said that I was caught laughing at a friend's drawing of themselves reenacting George Floyd's death. I can show you if you want. Like, they're talking about me laughing at a drawing reenacting George Floyd's death. And I was like, wow. So the girl that had the viral tweet lying about Gabbie Hanna choosing Jesse's over her best friend is now tweeting lies about me, and some really gross ones too, because that's pretty alarming. You know, you don't want that stuff spread around you. Like, that's so nasty. That really pissed me off. And just to, you know, spoiler alert, getting ahead of it, I have spoken to the anime, this Twitter person, and we're cool now. We hashed it out. But like, I'm just saying, like, at the moment, it really irked me, because like, what? Wait, what? Like, I understand if like my two tweets that I made so far about the situation like upset you to this extent, but like to start saying like this weird like spreading rumors, like, dude, no, don't do that. Like, because you know, I don't want no BS to go viral about me, and then like what? Like, it's all lies. And just that's the worst part about Twitter, because like when you try to like, I would love for people that are saying this kind of thing to try to explain it, because it doesn't make sense. And then like I just started memeing it, right? Like, I'm just like, yeah, dude, I'm not taking Twitter seriously, because like, she said that she used to really like Edward's generation, but apparently he was defending Gabbie Hanna. Now, like, you know, so far, I wouldn't say that I'm defending her as much as I'm trying to like see things objectively. And I guess if you're not on Jessie Smiles' side, you're defending Gabbie Hanna, which I think is kind of weird, to be honest, because it's like, to use a personal example, you can hate me, but that doesn't put you on, say, Dasha's side, right? Like, people that know my lore, I guess, whatever. Like, you know how shitty of a person Dasha was, and you can despise me, but that doesn't mean you're like pro Dasha. That doesn't make sense to me, right? Like, it doesn't put you on one team or another. And I'm just like trying to differentiate like little things about the story, because that's all. But you know, so far I guess this is how people perceive it, and I'm just like, who's Edward though, right? That kind of like anger towards me over literally nothing, like the way people get so upset over nothing, makes me want to look into it more. So the more people are like, you don't know what you're talking about, I'm like, okay, and you think you do? Well, so far, doesn't seem so, but hey, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I should be right, and maybe I will do more research to see if I can be right. So I tweeted, I swear it's these Gabbie Hanna detractors that are gonna lead me to end up doing a full-on documentary featuring everyone involved, getting to the damn bottom of it. Okay, maybe not Jen Dent, which, you know, was a joke because she's like made some pretty intense comments, including the ones calling like Nicholas Diorio like a insurrectionist. What is that word? But that was a joke. And some people are like, you need to talk to Jen Dent. She's an integral part of the story. I'm like, okay. Maybe I will. It was kind of just memeing it, but whatever. Like I insinuate here, featuring everyone involved. Like I'm not like, okay, I'm just Edwin. I don't want to assume that people would respond to me. In fact, I learned that Jessie Smells is pregnant, and apparently she doesn't have her baby till like November. And I don't know if I'm comfortable reaching out to her. Like in the circumstances, you know, it's kind of awkward. So like, it's kind of weird. I mean, I think I will anyway, but like, you know, and I can't even guarantee that I would hear back from her. But I'm also curious in hearing back from like Lily Marston or, you know, like everybody that's commented on this. Because again, from someone that's just dipping their toes in, you see it from a perspective outside looking in. The narrative is that Gabbie won't stop harassing Target A, right? But what I see is like the other way around. And I see like not only Jessie, but Jessie's friends and like everybody like, you know, ganging up on Gabbie. Now, the question I do have for Gabbie, you know, like of course I'm gonna try and talk to Gabbie about this. I want to ask her like, where are your friends? not that they should defend her by any means. Like I get that, I get the baggage, right? I'm just curious about. It seems like at least YouTube friend wise, I don't know if she's lost them or where people stand, because at least some of them have stood against her. I don't know. I'm just curious about that kind of stance, because I think obviously like corroborations I think are a really big important player in these kinds of stories. But I also know what it's like to have nobody want to stand up for you because of all the baggage, right? Like when I was going through my own drama, like nobody cared. Nobody gave a fudge. I mean, that's kind of gets me into these stories to begin with. So I got a bunch of replies, and obviously I could find you guys all the mentions that I got. So again, you guys see that I've not said anything like inflammatory, at least as far as I can see, right? I've not said anything like I guess some people might see what I'm saying as white knighting or simping for Gabbie, even though did I even mention her name in the 2 tweets that I did? Okay, I mentioned her name in this one with the Willie Mac clip, and this one I didn't. I just said dog what. So these are the 2 tweets that spawned everything, right? So from those 2 tweets, people just got angry in my replies, and I'm like, you guys getting so angry makes me make sure that I get all this right, so I can, if I dare to speak up this name, I know everything from top to bottom. I might know it better than you, right? But that's why I said the tweet is, I swear it's these Gabbie Hanna detractors make me want to do a documentary. And this girl said, yeah, because people are against rape apologist who has verbally harassed an SA survivor are the problem. Didn't you used to be against Onision? What happened to you? And I said, this is a reply to my tweet about possibly doing a video on the Gabbie Hanna drama. Do you guys see this? Suddenly, it goes from being radically against the idea of me doing the video to believing I'm pro Onision. Twitter's wild. Like, what does this tweet even mean? And someone says, my reading of it is more that you've spoken against Onision abusing others, so why wouldn't you give other victims of someone else the same courtesy? But this is what I mean. And here it said, I'm sorry, but comparing Gabbie Hanna to Onision in any way whatsoever is just ridiculous to me, point blank. You do this and you're doing a huge disservice to the YouTube community and to your mom. Again, I'm trying not to take YouTube seriously, so I threw in your mum, M-U-M, as a joke, right? Like, you're doing a big disservice to your mom. Like, that's a joke. But anyway, I just think, I think it's ridiculous. Like, I don't feel like you can really equate an Onision victim to like a Gabbie Hanna victim, right? I don't know. Maybe I haven't looked into this enough, but from what I've seen so far, I'm just not convinced, and I think it's whack. I think that, you know, if you wanna call Gabbie Hanna a terrible person, put her in a category that fits. Like just saying you want to deplatform her, and then like using the same word in the Onision train, and then even comparing her to him. It's like it's come on, it's too messy. Let's not go there. And ideally, wouldn't you want me on your side? Don't you want an ally? Don't you want me to help you out here? Because that's not gonna convince me. That's just gonna push me away. Okay, so this is where it starts. There's this YouTuber, Hello Leesh. She says, guys, Edwin isn't shit and never has been. All he does is pander and still fucks it up half the time. But by God, if he doesn't leave Jessie and Deanna alone, I'll end his shit. Right? First of all, let's go by the first line. I ain't shit and I never been? What? First of all, what's that supposed to mean, homegirl? Can you define that? 1 and 2? And 3, all I do is pander and I still F it up? I'm sorry, if I was pandering, I would be like, screw Gabbie Hanna. Unless I have the definition wrong, like, I'm typically not the pandering type, homegirl. So, oh, look at this reply. It's so sad. I used to like him, but man, he's really shown his true self. Bro, like, do you guys see? Like, this is the type of reply that I get over, like, my tweets. Like, it makes me feel like I'm living in an alternate reality. What? What? But it's like, dude, she's saying that she'll end my shit, right? I'm still not taking Twitter seriously. I'm like, girl, homegirl, all right, whatever. So I just said, end my shit, mommy. Come at me. Like, I'm trying to think of the most like playful, like, not serious way to reply. I could have gone with like, end my shit, mija. Try it. Well, how do you say it, right? How do I? Whatever. That's what I said. Oh, this person also deleted their tweet. She was like, oh, actually, it's in the Willie Mac video though, so that's kind of funny. Maybe we can look at it. So this girl says, laughing my butt off at the fact that Mr. Edwin Costa thinks he knows more about the Gabbie situation than the people who have actually been in it for well over a year now. Laughing, laughing, laughing. Hashtag bold. Like, do you guys see? Like, this is the type of reply that I get. So I said, I never claimed I knew more than anyone. All I said was I was curious to do a video on it, and I would look into every perspective. Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. But do you guys see the extreme reactions that I get? Like, this is not exactly normal. 2 tweets that I made about the situation, and they weren't even opinionated. They were just kind of like, I mean, I guess you could say my confusion was an opinion, but like, I feel like this is kind of a visceral reaction that, I'm sorry, when people are this heated, this kind of mob mentality, it makes me want to research it, because that's kind of like the kind of guy I am. And this person says, come on, Edwin's right, because I was saying it's ridiculous to compare Onision to Gabbie Hanna, and they clipped Onision and Gabbie Hanna laughing. Oh my gosh. I was wrong. I see it now. They're totally the same person. You're right. Ratio me, queen. Ratio me. They didn't really at me, so that's not really a ratio. And Trisha Paytas. Like, Trisha, what are you doing? Why? What are you in this quote tweeting someone's like saying my name, girl? I thought we was cool. But I guess us being cool is overshadowed by your anti-Gabbiness. And then I'm just like, why does everyone take this app so seriously? But anyways, as you guys can see, I literally just did one tweet from End My Shit, right? I only did one tweet to Hello Leesh. I only did one tweet, and I did another one saying, well, someone said, I wish you didn't have to argue. And I said, me neither, blah, blah, blah. Okay, let's just go to her tweet. Let's go to her Twitter now. Because she did quite a few tweets. Oh, by the way, if you guys don't know who this is a Gabbie Hanna commentary channel. Sorry, no offense, but when like almost half of your channel is Gabbie Hanna. And the thing that I don't get is when people are like, Edwin, I don't want you touching this. Don't you dare make a video about this. Like, they're acting like as if I'm about to do like sin, right? And if it's so bad to talk about this story, why is it not bad when somebody else dedicates their entire channel to doing it? Or most of the channel. I mean, you scroll and you see Gabbie, like, this is a lot of Gabbie Hanna. Maybe I'm biased because I recently, well, technically still have somebody making videos about me almost daily, but I don't think that's healthy. But that's besides the point. Okay, so here's one. She says, oh, excuse the F out of me, chummy with Prick the Oreo, mocking the death of George Floyd, again, disgusting, accusing the anime of lying. And, you know, she did lie because she was regurgitating this whole, I was laughing or mocking, whatever, anything to do with George Floyd, which I've never done that. That's highly offensive to me. Like, that's not it at all, you know? And then asking someone with DID to switch in front of him, send me what you got. This fucker isn't getting away with this, and I could use a change of pace. Like, dude, are you guys serious? Are you serious? What? Because I made those 2 tweets. It all leads to this. Like, do you guys see? Like, this is the type of reply that I get. I mean, this sounds like the translation of, help me cancel this, motherfucker. I mean, right before this, she said that she'll end my shit. When I see this, I just playfully say, end my shit, mommy. You know, I'm like, okay, cool. Give it a try. I'd like to see it. You know? Like, this is a lot of hostility for someone that I don't know. And here's the thing too, like, I'll be honest, I had seen a couple of her videos maybe like a year or 2 ago, and I didn't see her entire channel. I don't think she was like so much into Gabbie Hanna, or I don't know, maybe I just didn't pay attention, but I remember I saw like a couple videos and she seemed really cool. I thought she was cool. I was like, oh cool. I remember thinking like, it's cool to see like an older in female commentary type channel like get into the space, because she was like growing. I was like, cool. So I really didn't want to believe that she was really being this hostile towards me. Like, I guess I had a bias because, you know, it's like when you find something out about someone you thought was cool, but then it turned out they wasn't. So again, you guys can see how, like, again, this is not about Gabbie. Like, you know, like, it started off about me doing 2 tweets, and then from that, people got so upset. Like, you can't mention it. Like if I bet you anything, if I had said something negative about Gabbie, I wouldn't have gotten this. But because it wasn't clear where I stood, therefore I'm simping for Gabbie, and therefore we're not letting this fucker get away with this. Like what? The irony is that this begs to be corrected so Gabbie can thank him for forcing everyone to think about how Gabbie DM'd Deanna. Pathetic idiots, both of them. The one person in the situation not an idiot is the person without a platform who asked for none of this. Gross, Ed. So basically that's a very confusing way to say that, like, I'm gross and I'm an idiot because I have a platform and, you know, the girl Deanna doesn't have a platform, which technically speaking, okay, I guess, and I told her in DMs, like, but she didn't really care that, hey, I just started up my Twitter, okay, and I have less followers than Deanna, okay. But like, I don't know. I think like the whole concept that you can't quote tweet people or you can't defend yourself just because you have a platform, like it's not allowed. I think that's ridiculous. So I'm glad that Leesh has a platform. And I know she's going to argue that, well, Edwin, you have a bigger channel. Well, hey, my bigger channel's been dormant since December. Come on, don't use that on me. Yeah, technically, I'm using this channel, which is a smaller channel than yours. So we're equal playing field here. And you have more Twitter followers than me too. So, oh, okay, so this tweet says, Edwin, your channel's 5 times mine, and you've been doing this for an ungodly amount of years. And even I know to retweet someone without a platform that you know is going to send them hate is irresponsible and nasty. Cut it the fuck out or get the fuck offline. This isn't it. So yeah, I guess I got ahead of myself, but I just kind of like preemptively talked about what she just said here. Like, sorry, but I disagree. And I don't know. I think it's ridiculous. Like personally, like I got a ton of hate for my 2 tweets, and obviously she was spreading like disgusting lies. So if I can't even quote tweet someone that's like saying disgusting slander, nah, girl, we have a hard disagreement right there. Disagreement. And right here, she quote tweeted her evidence that I laughed at or mocked George Floyd's death, and this, of course, a Petty Page clip, which I can't see because she's got me blocked. Oh wait, it's showing now. What the? Anyways, in this clip,
wow,
what? It's a horrible image.
What is wrong with you?
So Nick is saying, "What is wrong with you,
Colton? What?
And I'm saying, Colton, what? Because the person that drew the picture, his name is Colton.
Oh.
Yeah, Colton drew
You hear me saying,
that, by the way. It's a picture of me kneeling on Nicholas Diorio's neck.
The type
Bro,
of
you're gonna get flagged for this.
I'm saying, yo, you're gonna get flagged for this. I'm sorry. Where am I mocking or laughing? You know?
Why are you showing this on stream, bro? This is bad.
Why are you showing this on screen, bro? This is bad. Again, where am I mocking anything?
Nick told me to. This is fucking is.
Nick's an asshole. What the fuck?
I like how they're talking about like my dad in here. Like,
tell me how I'm mocking the death of George Floyd, but you have no issue spreading this. You know, like this is so irresponsible, and it's disgusting. Like, why don't you correct yourself? You know, like that pisses me off. I'm sorry, it actually pisses me off. And here's the thing, like I was playing it off like goofy, whatever. I'm like, girl, come on, what are you doing, right? And here she is supporting that clip of Onision and Gabbie Hanna totally being the same because they both have laughing clips. If I start laughing and people are gonna clip me on Onision, are we the same somehow? She quote tweets this saying, to the 2 people I mentioned spreading misinformation, no, I'm not gonna quote tweet you like you think is the right thing to do, but we're done arguing. Okay, so again, the original tweet by Deanna is not factual, okay? But Leesh decided to quote tweet a picture that is also even less factual that says, I think a lot of people forget or don't know that Gabbie Hanna sided with a rapist who wrote/signed a confession to the cops over the woman who was a victim. And she didn't just do it privately, but publicly. That always bothered me. Is that better? No. Like, what do you mean sided? Like, it's a better look when you don't like someone for, someone was saying that, like, she did something, Rachel Oates. I've not looked into that, but hey, if you got the info correct, hate on Gabbie Hanna for that. If you don't like Gabbie Hanna because of this Escape the Night, cool. Hate on her for that. If you don't like Gabbie Hanna for other things, cool. But spreading misinformation, I think it's disgusting. I think it's ridiculous. She quote tweeted my tweet where I said, end my shit, mommy. And she says, I don't usually do this on the first date, but I guess you can say you convinced me. I thought that was funny though. I actually thought that was funny. I was like, okay, maybe she's not completely serious. And I said, well, hey, I usually get a hello before the first date, but nice to meet you, LOL, right? I was like, okay, this woman isn't serious. Oh, Hannah for some reason deleted her tweet. Okay, I forgot what she said, but I said, I think I need to start putting an asterisk in Gabbie's name. But also, Leesh is a YouTuber. I don't know, she was aggressively anti-Edwin. And she says, I didn't either until today. offline most of the day, but live premiere tonight. But in case I don't talk to you otherwise, just a note, if you need a fan base of rabid and mindless minions to do your fighting for you, you aren't shit. I fight my own battles and play by the rules. I instruct my followers not to send hate, which is funny because I learned that one of our people that were up in my replies was one of our moderators. People want to tell me not to poke the bear that is Nick Diorio. What's with Nick Diorio, dude? By talking about Edwin, no less. But if all these people rely on other people to fight for them, well, guess who's already won? Can somebody tell me what this means? What is Nick and I have to do with any of these tweets? Nick's not involved. I had to ask Nick if he knows anything about this. He didn't tweet her at all during this entire exchange that me and well, then again, I only tweeted her, was it once or twice? She thinks I can't fight my own battles. Okay, well, I'm right here. I'm not fucking scared of you, dude. End my shit. No, I don't know. Like, here's the thing too. Like, I was just confused. But anyways, I DM'd her, as you guys might know, and I was like, again, I guess everything I say is misinterpreted. I don't know if just by her or people in general. Again, I'm trying to figure out the best way to say, like, you're not really trying to fuck with me, are you? Because like, it's not gonna go good for you. And the cleanest way I could think of putting that was, you're not really trying to tango, are you? Like, you know, I feel like, oh, that's what people say in movies when they're like, you know, you trying to go? Like, people like, you know, it was playful. Commentary bros teaching baby bro to talk shit? Like, this is me talking shit? No, dude! At worst, I was trying to be like a supervillain. Ooh, it's raining out here. Nice. Sexy. I kind of get it. I think she's saying that I'm Nick's baby bro. Dude, I'm like 6 years older than Nick or something. But also, this isn't talking shit. Like, literally, I gave her one tweet and I sent her a DM. Are you for real? Like me saying, are you for real? Because like, it's not gonna look pretty. With all the shit you talk, like, are you serious? Like here's the thing, guys. I didn't want to believe that she was for real, right? Edwin, this isn't cute. Stop it. I'll show what I said after that, but otherwise, I'm not gonna show the DMs. I think it's lame. I mean, you know, I think it was kind of lame of her to show the DMs, but then again, I don't have a problem with it because I was the unsolicited DMer, I guess. You know, uninvited, you could say. So I'll show you guys what I said, and I won't tell you guys what she replied, but I'll show you guys my perception afterwards. Do you guys hear the wind? After she said this isn't cute, she said a couple sentences and she said this isn't a good look for you at all. I thought you were decent. This isn't a good look. And I said, neither were your tweets about me. I was being playful in hopes that you weren't being totally serious. And I apologize for that. You know, I said sorry. I'm sorry that, you know, my tweet didn't land. That, you know, and my shit mommy. I'm sorry that was so offensive. You know, I apologize. But I am not okay with the things you've said since you apparently are. Like, again, I was in denial that she was being serious about the disgusting things that she was saying about me. Like, I was straight up in denial. Guys, and maybe that's one of my biggest flaws. Like, I tend to give people the benefit of the doubt a little bit too much. So then I tweeted out, I was really hoping Hello Leesh was being ignorant yesterday when she was tweeting really nasty shit about me, so I replied playfully. Seems she doubled and tripled down. I guess I was in denial and wanted to believe she wasn't being malicious in nature. I was wrong. You know, like, trust me, guys, we had a lot of exchanges back and forth on Twitter, in the DMs, and she wanted to, like, hash it out. Like, she was like, I don't want this to keep going, whatever. I'm done if you are, kind of thing. I'm like, I'm glad we at least don't hate each other. Like, I'm glad you don't hate me for BS reasons, but, like, you still haven't owned up to the fact that you're, like, spreading lies about me or, like, apologize for that directly. And you know, the funny part is that, like, again, I actually, like, the source of this whole thing, because she was so intent on defending Deanna. And I tweeted out, hey, I hashed it out with Deanna. We're cool now. She said that, hey, the video, I was wrong about that. Like, how is that so hard to do? I'm sorry, but when you lie about someone in such a severe and disgusting way, it's the least fucking thing you could do. But did Homegirl do it? No! God, I'm already bored of the Edwin drama. Is something else going on with creators that I care about? I need topics. Oh, well, that's so convenient. You know, it was so convenient that I was just like some guy that you could just like maybe pick out for content. Is that what I was? Well, haven't the tables turned? But the difference here is that I'm not using bullshit fucking arguments to make content out of you. I'm just not cool with the narrative that you were spewing about me for the sake of content. Like, that's disgusting. Now, something else before we move on is someone sent me a screenshot of her community posts. I've been pretty absent on social media this weekend. To be honest, I've noticed my anxiety level's been pretty high. I've been talking to my psychologist this week about a potential diagnosis I'm eager to get answers around. And I noticed that Twitter was making it worse, but the compulsion to check Twitter is real. Something is always happening there, and my anxious mind tries to keep busy sometimes, I think. So I deleted the app from my phone. I may keep my account, blah, 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 blah. Okay. There's also some sort of discourse around someone calling me the C word, People are really defending that kind of behavior, and the idiocy/hypocrisy I allow to affect my mood is embarrassing. The urge to respond is strong, but I also only foresee these people making this more difficult. When an ex-friend was doing this recently, I said it hurt to bite my tongue and take the high road. I feel you, girl. That's why I'm responding. I'm not biting my tongue. It's really tough, but I think it's a muscle to build. If these lies become something of concern, I have to have faith in you all to show you're concerned so I can address them then. I'm sorry, but what does that mean? If these lies become something of concern, I have to have faith in you all to show your concern so I can address them then. What? Does that read weird to anybody else? But I thought she fought her own battles. Are you saying that like that's what it means? I'm really confused by that line. Anyway, let's keep going. Of course, as soon as I'm gone, 2 larger creators started to spread misinformation about me. We know she ain't talking about Homeboy, right? We know she's not talking about me, right? Do you guys remember what I said in my tweet? I believe I said, "End my shit, mommy." But is that misinformation? That can't be me. No, it can't be me, right? It can't be me, guys. It can't be me. Someone left a comment saying, "Oh, I'm sure I don't watch these 2 quote-unquote large creators because I didn't come any that addressed you. Anyway, stay strong and do the best for your health." That's all that said. And her reply was, "I'll say it here because it'll get buried in the comments, but if it gets out, it gets out." Okay, this is gonna be good. But I'm referring to Edwin and Creepshow. What the fuck? I think there's a leak in my fucking ceiling. Oh, god damn it. Oh, fuck. There's a fucking leak? Ew! The water's yellow, dude. Gross, dude. Oh, drink roof water? What the f? I'm not drinking roof water? Disgusting. Holy shit, it's getting bigger. What the f? What the f? This fucking, oh my god, my fucking ceiling is gonna fall. What the shit? Oh my god, I gotta take a picture of, oh fuck, I forgot I'm in my underwear. Oh, sorry guys, you guys. Dude, look at that fucking bulge, dude. That's bigger than my fucking bulge. My fucking ceiling's gonna fucking fall. I'm gonna call my mom. Okay? Yeah, my ceiling is leaking and it looks like it's gonna fall through. It's got a really big bulge. I can send you a picture.
And if you poke it, we get. Let's see if I have my.
You want to poke it? You guys see the bulge? Now people are saying don't poke it. Guys, we were almost done with this freaking segment on Leesh. I need to tarp the roof. Do I look like I got tarp? I feel like I should leave the angle here so we can all watch together when it freaking just... I feel like I need multiple cameras. Oh my god. Let me see if I can get my webcam going here. There we go. Oh, there we go. Bruh. This is funny, dude. What a funny stream. But okay, what was I saying earlier is like, what's the worst that could happen? Like, oh, well, it's either gonna all fall out or not, right? So we're gonna have a camera angle for that. And we're gonna try to get back to the show.
Yo, Edwin, what's up?
Yo, what's up, homie?
What's going on? I like popped my head in for the stream briefly, and then like I left, and then everybody started blowing up my DMs and stuff. Help Edwin.
Oh my god! Wow, that's funny.
Like, how am I supposed to help you? Like, we don't live anywhere near each other and shit.
No, it's fine.
I'm no handyman either. I'm not a fucking handyman either.
Dude,
so like,
I don't know if this
what
what
to do.
Are Mexicans? Well, Mexicans can do anything, so we just do everything. So
We'll figure it out somehow. We make it happen.
We just call other Mexicans if we can't do it. So I guess that's what the logic was, right?
Yeah, your stream got a little stuttery there, so I'm like, what's going on? Because like I said, everybody's like blowing up my shit. Like, help out Edwin, help out Edwin. I'm like, I can't even see what's going on a stream, so that's why I like DM'd you.
The power went out, so hopefully it doesn't do it again. It looks like we're back for good. The rain's calming down, so I guess we can get back to the Hello Leesh stuff.
Yeah, what do you got going on with this Hello Leesh thing? I haven't been here like this whole time, so
I'm not trying to go over like the DMs and stuff, but like she just wouldn't budge. She wouldn't really want to accept that what she was saying was like factually incorrect. Did you see the stuff she said? I showed it earlier, but
no, I'm not familiar. Did she say something about you, or like what's the deal?
Yeah, I mean, she was really outraged. Let me bring it back on screen here real quick.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, I've only like seen this girl like a couple times, but like I've commented before, like she seems a little bit odd. Like I remember one time she was like spurging out for like 2 or 3 days straight on Twitter because like some 15-year-old was trolling her, and it's like, dude, like anybody who knows anything about the internet, like just don't feed the trolls. And, like people were trying to tell her that, but she just continued to like ramble on for like days. It was weird.
And that's the ironic part. She was telling me, don't quote people, it's gonna get them harassed or whatever, and she's quote tweeting somebody that's trolling her. Oh, interesting.
Yeah, she just like went on for like 2 or 3 days about this like 15-year-old kid that was like harassing them. or
Dude,
trolling
I just
him.
think that whole argument, like, don't quote tweet or reply to someone without a platform is just like BS. You know, it's like if someone's saying stupid slanderous things, or even if they're not, like, it's whatever. Like, so this is the first thing she said. Guys, Edwin isn't shit and never has been. All he does is pander and still fucks it up half the time. But by God, if he doesn't leave Jesse and Deanna alone, I'll end his shit. It's like, damn, hostility.
Like, who does she think she is? Like, she's gonna end your shit? What does that even mean?
Yeah. And then this is the one that even annoyed me more though. Like where she said, like, excuse the F out of me, chummy with prick Diorio. I mean, I guess she's got it bad for him. Mocking the death of George Floyd. That one also, what the fuck? You know, like imagine saying that, you know? And like, you know, it, like, obviously she's ridiculous, but like, you know, she's getting her interaction. Like, that's like, people believe that. People literally tweeted me saying, when did you do this? And I'm like, I didn't fucking do that. Why would I fucking do that? You know, like, it bothers me because that's not cool. Like, that's not, you know.
That reminds me of that time, because like so many times people will tweet stuff like this and people just like buy it without like any receipts or anything. It reminds me of the time that like Augie tweeted a fake tweet. I don't know if you saw, like, I've been tweeting like
oh my God, yes, dude, yes.
Yeah, my
about,
weight loss stuff. I tweet out every day like that I complete my rings on my Apple Watch. And like Augie took like one of those screenshots and posted it like 4 times on a tweet and said that like Tipster's been faking his weight loss this whole time.
Yeah, dude.
And like everybody bought it. Everybody bought it. Nobody bothered to actually look at the post to see if it was like real. They just bought it, and that's how it is on Twitter. Like, somebody can just say shit.
See, and that almost has 1,000 likes. But the difference here is obviously it's a freaking meme. It's hilarious versus something that's like, you know, slanderous.
But if you read like the replies and stuff, like, people think it's real. It's the funniest thing ever.
So that way he can fool people into thinking he's done that much activity every day when he just posts the same pics. Oh man.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. It was really, really funny.
But yeah, that's what's annoying about Twitter. Like, people just, she ended up backing out. She's like, oh, I'm bored of the Edwin drama. Like, there is no Edwin drama. Like, you tweeted at me or about me like over a dozen times, and that's it. And then you think that's Edwin drama? Like, girl, I'm sorry I wasn't good enough to make it to your Edwin content, but
it seems like she likes to, like, from the limited experience I've had with her, seems like she likes to poke the bear with people, and then like when she gets pushback, then she like pulls the victim card like every time. It's like if you're gonna bark, you know, towards someone's direction,
bark
you have
loud.
to expect someone's gonna bark back, you know?
Yeah. So she had a community post where she did like an Instagram note, and in that Instagram, or not Instagram, like a phone note, notes app. Yeah, she did like a notes app thing, and in it she said, 2 larger creators started to spread misinformation about me. So I'm like, okay, well, that's definitely not me, because I literally just did one tweet saying, end my shit, you know, whatever, go for it, try it. And then somebody's like, I'm sure I don't watch these 2 creators because I didn't see anything addressed to you. Anyway, stay strong. And then she just like, I'll just say here because it'll be buried in the comments, and if it gets out, it gets out. But I'm referring to Edwin and Creepshow. Like, dude, this person didn't even ask. They didn't even ask. They're not even curious. They're not even being nosy. And you're like, well, if it gets out, it gets out. And again, this was sent to me, but like, I just think this response is like so ridiculous, it's worth sharing. Edwin was the last shitstorm I got involved in before backing away from Twitter. I was a shitstorm? She tweeted me or about me over a dozen times, and I was a shitstorm? Well, technically, the last shitstorm was me being concerned for Gabbie after she called 911 on live. Her being concerned for Gabbie Hanna after Gabbie Hanna called 911 on a live stream was also a shitstorm?
Yeah, it seems like she's just the type that likes to start something and then just doesn't like to have anybody clap back at her. Which, like,
yeah, we gotta get out of the safe space, bubble girl. After I stepped back, someone told me that Creepshow said in the same voice notes that my friend and me called her a C word in our podcast. I don't use that word in public settings or when arguing with people, so I was confused. I know I've never called her that, so a follower of mine rewatched the podcast episode when we discussed her, and they confirmed that we did no such thing. Not that I'm worried people will take Shannon's word or anything, for literally anything, but also, Shannon didn't call her a C word. And also, this doesn't add up with her note. Look, her note says, there's also some discourse around someone calling me the C word. Shannon didn't call her that. It was in that voice note too, the Shannon Creepshow.
Yeah, I remember hearing her mention Hello Leesh briefly in there.
Hello Leesh got involved, and that girl is effing weird, and she started saying...
And she started saying, like, I was gaslighting her, and I was just like, I'm just living... What? What is going on? It was a whole weird kerfuffle. And so in that situation, like, I do not support what Gabbie's doing now.
That was it. All she said about Hello Leesh was that she's effing weird, and she got herself involved, and she said that Shannon was gaslighting her. There's no C word in there, unless I missed something.
I mean, and yeah, from what I can tell, based on like a lot of this stuff, she does seem to kind of like insert herself into situations that don't involve her. So
Shannon's not even wrong in this. Yeah, Shannon is spitting facts.
I hate to say it, but yeah, she's actually right.
Shannon's right. But do you guys see like how is either what I said or what Creepshow said spreading misinformation? Like, girl, you're wrong on both fronts.
Somebody in the chat suggested maybe when she says C word, she means crazy. Did Shannon call her crazy?
Let's see.
Leash got involved, and that
No,
girl
she said
is
she's fucking weird.
weird.
Oh, okay.
She's called her fucking weird, and it was a whole kerfuffle. No crazy. No SCUNT.
So what is the C word then? I don't. With these T channels, I never know.
I'm legit not trying to start any sort of beef or like ongoing feud or drama with her. I'm just trying to make sure homegirl knows like what's up, you know? I'm trying to make sure like she knows that, hey, you did wrong. Own up. Don't try to make it seem like a larger creator is spreading misinformation about you when I didn't do such thing. If you're going to say that shit, back it up. Because she said that days after this whole thing, days after our DM conversation. It doesn't make any sense. Hello, Leesh, stop. Stop that bullshit. Stop this weird, like, people are out to get me, even though you're, like, making tons of videos on one single creator. Like, not that there's anything wrong, okay? I know you have your reasons for it. In fact, I can probably find it. I clicked on a random video of Gabbie's, of hers, and she happened to address why she makes so many videos.
There's an array of topics that we've talked about, and it just seems like with everything that Gabbie Hanna does, another topic comes up. And part of it is that you kind of get stuck in this, like, loop where, you know, we continue talking about it because there's a lot to talk about. So, you know, I do want things to calm down around her so that I can take a look at what else is going on outside of her online.
Are you serious? Like, do you see this? So she's saying like, I want the drama around Gabbie to calm down so I can have an excuse to make content around other things. That just sounds.
You could always just not cover her if you don't want to cover her. I mean, there's a thought.
That said, I'm going to be real with you. And this is not a matter of being like, I need the views and the money. But when I get the criticism that, like, please stop talking about Gabbie Hanna, and then I talk about, like, a huge creator, Jeffree Star, James Charles, and the views are significantly less, like a fraction, it communicates to the creator, this is not what your audience wants. Your audience wants that other thing. I don't ever want to talk about something that isn't important to me. I don't ever want to talk about something that I'm not interested in. And this is what I'm interested in right now.
Bro, what the fudge? So basically, I can't help it. She keeps being, I don't know, problematic or whatever. Like, there's drama around her, therefore I must talk about her. There's views. You guys like it. Like, dude, what?
For her to act like, oh man, you guys want me to keep covering this, and so I just keep covering it because you guys want it. You know exactly what's going on here.
You know what I thought was actually really weird about this? Leesh girls, she had a former Gabbie Hanna fan stay at her house, and they did a video together.
Wait,
and first
what?
of all, that alone is super hella weird.
I had to unmute for that one because I'm snacking right now. And like, I was like, wait a minute, what?
Ironically, as it turns out, apparently, according to Leesh, that girl faked suicides at her own house or something like that. So like, it bit her in the ass to try to have an anti-Gabbie girl, like, you know, as a weapon against Gabbie. Like, first of all, that concept is so weird. Oh, okay. You want me to watch this? Let's see.
I talked about trauma dumping and consent, the importance of consent, and also your audience. And when I say audience, again, I'm not referring to a large audience of your platform. I am just talking about any person talking to any number of people. That it's important to consider your audience. Is this an appropriate audience to be sharing these feelings and these thoughts with? And have I asked their consent to take on these really, really heavy thoughts and emotions?
Even so, I didn't say anything bad.
Okay, well, first of all, that whole thing, I don't know if that's clipped out of context or what, but if there's a context I'm listening to, the concept of, am I getting my audience's consent to show my emotions? I'm sorry, what? Is this real? But I guess this clip is trying to show the irony of how she's done the same thing.
You need consent to show how you feel? What?
I don't know, but here she's doing the same
thing. Have I asked their consent to take on these really, really heavy thoughts and emotions?
Even so, I didn't say anything bad. All I can gather from what everyone's telling me that she said that was bad was that I said she convinced me to make a video in her favor. And that was just because we were friends for a couple of days, and so I was going to like go to bat for her against all these people who were being mean to her.
Oh, this is Did she ask for consent from her audience to lay these heavy thoughts and emotions? I think she's talking about the girl that she had at her house, huh? So basically, she's saying that because if an anti-Gabbie stan or anti-Gabbie, former Gabbie fan, whatever, said, can we make a video? People are being mean. She said, okay, yeah. And then it bit her in the ass. Now she's crying to her audience. Dude, that's not really taking responsibility for yourself. And also, it's just fucking weird. I'm sorry. Somebody convinced me that it's not fucking weird. She's talking about Gabbie. Are you sure? Because, okay, let's listen to this again.
She said that was bad was that I said she convinced me to make a video in her favor.
Oh, maybe she is.
And that was just because we were friends for a couple of days, and so I was going to like go to bat for her against all these people who were being mean to her. And then I saw that she was continuing to be a shit online, and I didn't know that I felt okay with that anymore.
Oh, Gabbie, okay.
I'm really hoping that I do this right and that there's a silver lining. Perhaps even that one of the channels picks up on this and I'm sorry, but sends the rest of the internet fucking back in her face. I don't ever wish this sort of stuff on people. I don't ever think people are evil or awful or bad, and I'm thinking that about her right now. I've never thought this of someone. I've never felt this way in my life. She is the meanest, nastiest person I have ever spoken to in my entire life.
So she wanted T channels to pick up on her story, so Gabbie Hanna would catch more hate because of the story. I'm so confused. Even though she was schooling me about how she shouldn't have people. Wait, so she's mad that I'm so confused. It's such a weird lore.
That's really what she was saying. Like, dude, that's not a good look.
This full video is 45 minutes? Cheese and rice. Also, hey girl, listen, I'll have you on my show. You can tell me about your drama. I'll pick up your drama, but it's gotta make sense. Because what did Gabbie do that's so damning? I mean, if you thought you were friends with someone for 2 days, and this was happening to you, girl, you're. First of all, if you're an influencer too, I mean, nobody here is an influencer. I mean, I don't know. Maybe there are some listening lurking. Don't give out your phone number to people. You know. Which also apparently is bad on Gabbie, because apparently Gabbie gave her phone number to Leesh. So,
dude, why are so many people like going for your throat lately, dude?
Dude, can anybody in the comments help me? What is it? Let's see. Well, that's why I'm looking at these comments. I'm subscribed to Edwin on both of his channels by now, just because of the little hope that he will return to his previous level of integrity and work ethics. But I have to agree, from a certain point, he's been very sloppy on his second channel. He surrounds himself, here comes, with horrible and biased people, and he tends to lash out on his viewers and fans and call them stupid on live. When did I do that for disagreeing with him? Even slightly. I've not done that. I've not called you stupid. Chat, who did I call stupid? I'm sorry. Don't be sensitive, little bitches. Okay, is that what it is? Is that the offensive part? I thought we were friends. I thought it was cool. That's what I like about my chat. Like, it's diverse. Like, most people get it, and some people, they don't totally agree, but that makes the discourse fun. I don't know, like, I don't want to live the expectation that I'm some sort of perfect person, guys. That's the whole point of the live stream, so you guys can see that I'm real, like, just like you guys. Lately he's been having some really messed up takes on Jesse and Gabbie situations, all while platforming people who skew the narrative and provide him with disproven information.
What?
I don't know, man. See, but
what it comes down to is, like, if you don't spew the same, because what they want is an echo chamber. They want you to spew the same information they are hearing from everyone else, or what they believe. So, like, if you have a different opinion, doesn't matter if you have the receipts to back up your different opinion.
Exactly.
Like, it's too bad. Like, you don't agree with them,
I don't hate Gabbie Hanna, therefore, how dare Edwin lose his integrity. People literally think I lost my integrity because I'm asking questions and trying to see things objectively. Like, I don't know, it's just weird, dude. Like, the fact that people are so hate mob and don't see it, that makes me want to research this. And I hope, and I have gotten a lot of people that have changed their mind and been really open to listening, and I appreciate the hell out of you guys, because I actually think that's most people. Whoa. But some people like this, I don't know. I generally like Edwin, but it did rub me the wrong way that he didn't even consider that he should apologize for wearing a shirt. with Nazis killing a Jews. Like, I get it. You didn't understand it at the time. I did say sorry. You just didn't watch the video. Like, this is what I mean. This is, oh, cringe, dude. Like, watch my video on it. I made it last year in summer. But, you know, like, this is what I mean, guys. This is funny.
Well, that's like one of those things where like I had a lot of people coming at me for defending you about that shirt, but like I don't even necessarily see an issue with it if you consider the context of why that shirt exists. I don't know if you saw like my video when I talked about
I just
that.
see it.
But I looked into like the history of like, or the research as to why the bands use those images. And like they're trying to promote like an anti-war message in a lot of their music and stuff. And so that was the point of the shirt, is they were trying to show like the dark side of war so people can see like why they speak out against it. So like when you consider like the bigger context of why that image exists on that shirt, like it completely changes, like, you know, it doesn't fit into their narrative of like, oh, you must be a Nazi because you wore this like shirt with this horrible image, you know?
And it's not like the music is pro-Nazi or anything like that. And it's not like I ever pushed that sort of message ever in my life. You know, it's like, I feel like people want to see the bad. And you know, if you guys are still, like, if anybody here, by the way, like, I know I'm kind of like laughing at these comments, but just on a real note, try to look at it on a human level, okay? I went to this concert when I was 17. I thought it was badass. I just didn't think twice into it, you know? Sometimes people didn't think too hard into it. Like, it's not, things really aren't that deep, you know? And nobody ever told me anything. Like, when I wore the shirt, nobody ever said anything. It just is what it is.
It's one of those things where context matters. You know, times change. Some things that were considered acceptable then aren't acceptable now. And then also, like, we change as people with time, right? Like, I can be honest with you guys right now that when I was, you know, a young teenager and stuff, there were really messed up things I used to say or really messed up things that I did that were considered acceptable then, but I would never, ever say that shit now because, like, I know that words have power and words have, like, context to them that can be hurtful to people, and so there's like certain things I used to say or do that I wouldn't say or do anymore. We grow, we evolve, and we mature as people with time, and like I think people tend to forget that, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Fuck yeah.
Nobody wants to take into account the fact that people change. Like, I'm not the person I was last year, let alone like, you know, 10 or 20 years ago.
Exactly. Like, so, I think it's ridiculous to literally play like a decade-old video and try to match it. Like, you think the same Edwin from me being like in my young 20s is the same as 30s Edwin? No, you're crazy. Yeah. I would find it ridiculous if you were the same person you were a decade ago, no matter what age you are. You know, I think it's ridiculous. And also, guys, I gotta say, the reason why I think I streamed for a long time too is because I don't stream often, and like I do enjoy it's obviously like there's the pros and cons of streaming for like on YouTube. Like, pros being like connecting, vibing, you know, and having good conversations. I really dig it, and the cons being that, like, you know, we get idiots and people with bad intentions coming in here and just want to fuck shit up. Like, why? Like, you know, you either know that we're just chilling and vibing, or you just already have a bad bias and hate me for whatever reason, right? Because like one time I blocked you on Twitter last year or something, and I don't remember why. Okay, basically, it stormed so hard that my ceiling was falling through. It's so funny that it's not there anymore, though. Like, what the how did it... Look, I'm going to show you guys. Let me activate my webcam, because I'm so flabbergasted at the way that it just, like... There's nothing there. Where's the bulge? Can you see the difference? Look, it's a live picture. You can literally see. See, it's the same thing. It's the same exact thing. There's nothing there in the current... Is that weird or what? Where'd it go? What happened to the bulge? So yeah, there was a huge bulge and it was dripping water like so crazy. And at one point, like, my internet went out, so that sucked. It would be funny if it moved over here and then it started dripping right here. That would suck so bad. Oh my god, I'm actually lucky. If it dripped here, oh my god, that would have been so stressful. You know what, guys? We should thank the lucky stars. Guys, but that was an adventure. Who was here during the bulge? Say I was here if you were here during the bulge. Okay, Warmy. I know Warmy wasn't here because I did call my landlord. I did call my landlord. I FaceTime with my landlord, bro. Or sis. Or me, or mommy. I should say mommy. I'm gonna start calling. I'm gonna start calling people mommy, so we can normalize it. Unless it gives you guys anxiety that I have to take meds, then we'll do that. Why are you streaming so long, Jordan? Because I'm vibing with my damn chat. Okay, look, guys. Why do I hear that twice? Anyway, thank you for becoming a member, Andrea. Being a streamer, being an online person, it's one thing to have to be your own boss, right? Like be your own manager and stuff. But like to constantly have people judging you over every little thing and trying to act malicious and assuming things, I gotta say that's a drag. And I know that sometimes it may look like I'm calling those people out, blah, blah, blah. And I know that it maybe doesn't look the best, but I do want to say that I appreciate you that aren't like that so much more, because it means a lot, you know. It means a lot. Like I know there are some people that are pretty shitty. Maybe some people are lurking right now and they really don't like me and they're looking for something to clip or whatever, right? They're doing that dumb shit or more excuses to quote me or whatever. But I don't even care, because I like, yes, sometimes you'll hear me focus on some trolls in my chat, whatever, right? But you also hear me say that I love my chat. Now, I'm saying I love my chat. I'm not saying I love you so much. I'm not trying to make a weird like hello Leesh thing. I'm not telling you I love you so much, okay? I'm not saying that. There's a difference. I love my chat. I love you guys. I love the guys. I love the vibes you guys provide. And I love the vibes. I keep saying guys. I love the vibes you guys allow me to provide right back. You know, I love feeling comfortable with you guys, because I don't know how to say. Like, I don't know how to say, but like, man, I was so fucking depressed this year. Dude, I was so fucking depressed. I felt like the world hated me. I felt like, whoosh. And it feels good, you know? Someone in the chat asked, why are you streaming for so long? Because I appreciate, I love this feeling. I love vibing. Like, to me, the word vibing, guys, I'm seriously fucking vibing. Is that gay? Can we be gay then? Alright, there's my gay little speech for you guys. The annoying part is that, yeah, like, you know, like I hate complaining about like my shit, right? I hate to complain about internet problems, because first of all, not only is it unrelatable, nobody fucking understands the kind of shit, like, and I'm not even talking about like other YouTubers don't get it either, because every single YouTuber, every single person, they go through different shit, you know, and everybody processes things differently. But like, also, not only do I say like nobody really knows it, but also saying that out loud sounds so lame, so I hate saying it, right? So like it sounds dumb coming out, like, oh, people don't get it, yeah. You know, so it's like, oh, so that kind of stuff shuts me up. Like, it makes me not want to, you know, keep to myself. Does that make sense? When you kind of dismiss yourself, you kind of like, yeah, I guess dismiss is the word, but also like, yeah, I guess I dismiss myself, because it's like, you know what I mean? Thank you guys so much for coming. I'm gonna end it for real. I think we went on to 9 hours or close to it, and I think it was worth it, you know? But everybody, seriously, just take care of yourselves, all right? It doesn't matter if you're old or new, guys. If you've been subscribed for a few months or a few years, thank you for you know, giving me the opportunity to you know, to show you who I am, and being understanding that I am a person, okay? I'm not Brad Pitt. I'm not some big YouTuber with a platform, or maybe I am. Okay, maybe you could say I am that. I'm not. What I'm trying to say is I'm not better than you. I'm not bigger than you. I'm not anything. I'm just a fucking person. All right, cool. Love you guys. Take care. But not like in a personal love you way, because I don't know you like that. Okay, it's not parasocial like that. We're just vibing. I'm ending for sure. Peace out. Remember, you guys can always see my full streams if you become a member of the channel, or you go to my Patreon. Until next time, I'll see you guys real soon in a live stream. Peace out. Like, do you guys see? Like, this is the type of reply that I get.